Bienvenidos. Welcome to another episode of Living on Music, everybody, on ZTV. I'm Steve Houk, and really excited to have you here on this kind of glowing week in the world. Hoping things are going to take a turn for the better in a number of ways here in 2021. And I'm hoping you are all, again, remaining safe and also feeling well and happy and living on music in your own ways at home. We've got a wonderful guest tonight. He is an accomplished singer-songwriter from the area, Franke, who was a neighbor of mine many years ago, but has ascended to 250 plus gigs a year. The last 10 months have been less than that by a long shot, of course. But what a wonderful musician, and really can't wait to have a really neat conversation with Brian. He's going to play a couple tunes for us live as we did the record, and also talk a little bit about his life in music. So can't wait to talk to Brian in a little while. As you see behind me, Jammin' Java, one of my favorite venues of the entire region. Luke Brindley and family run it, and they've been hurting as well as anybody else. So we are hoping Jammin' Java, who are starting to open up a little bit. I know they were doing a lot of outdoor shows. A lot of my guests like Bobby Thompson and others did gigs out at Jammin' Java, but we love Jammin' Java, and again, hopefully Save the Stages is going to also give them a little bit of some support as well. So, and also Franke, my guest tonight, recently played a couple years ago at Jammin' Java, and we're going to show a clip of him doing a Springsteen song from there. So we'll get that in a second. Real quick, the Whammies, they have about a week left. It ends on January 31st. So go to whammiesdc.awardsplatform.com. and you'll see the platform right here. And it basically gives you a chance to register. You have to be registered, live in DC, Maryland, or Virginia. And if you want to nominate a band, you can go in and look at the interface. It shows you how to do it if you continue to go through once you register, and also vote on some of the favorite groups that you have around the area. I'm really excited that a lot of the people that I've had on the show are up and nominated, and that's really exciting for any musician in this area to be part of the Whammies. And so stay tuned on some more on the Whammies as we go through January and February. Real quick, also the Birchmere this Wednesday and Thursday, the 27th and 28th, you have a real legend. This guy, Robert Earl Keen, is an Americana legend. What an incredible guy. He has had stuff recorded by so many amazing artists across the spectrum of music. And it was inducted into the Texas Heritage Songwriters Hall of Fame with the late, great Townes Van Zandt, and a longtime friend of his from Texas A&M, Lyle Lovett. So Robert Earl Keen, again, that's going to be this Wednesday and Thursday at the socially distanced Birchmere. They are really trying to, again, keep the business going for themselves and artists. And hopefully within the next number of months, we'll be able to get more people out to the Birchmere. But I love those guys a lot, and I just always want to kind of give them a little shout out. So that is Robert Earl Keen this Wednesday and Thursday. Before we got to my interview with Franke, there is as a lot of you know about the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camps. That is a organization that does, it lets people go out and play music with some legends of rock and roll and jazz and pop and R&B, and experience what it's like to play with these people and record some songs and perform a little bit. And it's really a fun kind of theory of how you can kind of get music into your life. There's a great movie coming out. It's a documentary called Rock Camp. And you basically follow four campers, rock and roll campers, through their journey to kind of shred with the heroes and see how they overcome their fears and transform their lives a little bit. Some people really have taken experiences like this and gone really, really far with how it makes you feel and makes, kind of do it. And the rock stars remember their humble beginnings, and they kind of reconnect with their love of music a little bit. This movie includes people like Alice Cooper, Roger Daltrey, Sammy Hagar, Judas Priest is in it, Joe Perry from Aerosmith, Gene Simmons of Kiss, Paul Stanley of Kiss, Nancy Wilson. There's some really cool people in this, and it's a really fun film. We're going to show the trailer for the movie before we run to our interview with Brian. Again, if you go to the rockcampthemovie.com, they have some wonderful contests as well where you can win a free trip to Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, memorabilia, other things like that you can enter on the website. And some of the proceeds go to Music Cares, which makes complete sense right now, which is an organization, a fundraising process that helps musicians and things like that. So again, if you get a chance, go to rockcampthemovie.com and check out this film, and it's going to help musicians wherever you can. Let's do some Rock Camp.
Artists love to give back. They realize their success is based on the fans. And that's how I came up with the idea of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp.
It's very easy to forget where you came from.
Once Roger started doing it, it opened up the door. Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp became part of pop culture.
Just like that.
Welcome to Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp.
Woo!
Okay, this person can play, this person can kind of play.
You would have a 15-year-old kid playing drums and a dentist on guitar. If this band were a real band, it would be the weirdest band ever, but cool.
A lot of really good players come through.
One guitar player was shredding like a mother, and I'm thinking, what are you? He goes, I'm a doctor. I'm going, wow.
I want every rock star to do what inspires them.
I had to experience it.
If Bob Dylan and Gene Simmons and Jimi Hendrix auditioned for The Voice, do you think we'd make it? Oh, it's Valentine, it's fun. You think we'd make it?
I see you playing, but get with him.
It's great, huh?
Paul Stanley, same. Reminded him of Buddy Miles.
Hey, babe, I'm in the middle of a vocal thing. Ready? I'll call you back, okay?
Looking forward to another good bashing of Rock Camp.
I've reconnected with my joy of playing.
Singing for the first time on stage.
It's a very special thing. That moment, and for me and for him, it's real.
I can't think of a more fun thing to do. I mean, it's better than stamp collecting.
Well, you are in for a wonderful Living on Music treat tonight, folks. About 7 or 8 years ago, I realized that my guest tonight, Brian Franke, actually lived right across the condo community that we both used to reside in over off Little River Turnpike in Fairfax. We became acquaintances of sorts, even with our different but busy lives. And I remember one long conversation we had was in the pool that we both belonged to there with our spouses at the time. And that's where I learned a little bit, actually a lot, about his musical world that was kind of waiting to take off, and how dedicated he was to it, and how I began to follow it as the years began to go by. He and his wife Sarah ended up moving from their condo there, which I remember had raccoons living in the walls or something like that. I'll have to ask Brian about that if I remember that correctly, and there were other issues. But since then, Brian Franke has molded together a wonderful, vigorous, and respected music career as an award-winning independent singer-songwriter, known as both a frequently booked cover song musician as well as a original singer-songwriter. Since 2009, going on about 12 years now, that is when he made music his full-time career, along with a current regular job he recently told me about, and we can chat about that if he wishes. It's part of everybody kind of making ends meet. But by playing over 250 shows each year at a whole assortment of venues, yes, I said 250 shows, very, very aggressive and vigorous touring by this gentleman, including what you see behind me, obviously one of my favorite places. Had the pleasure to sing there for a Beatles tribute once myself, but he has played there, Jam and Java, the legendary Iota at Cafe and Club in Arlington. I love that place. Laura Segueras, when I had her on, we had the Iota behind me. Nationals Park, the Hamilton, as well as, wow, the Bluebird. I wanted to hear a little bit about that in Nashville, and the Driscoll Hotel in Austin. So some real iconic venues as well. Additionally, Brian has played all over the place in festivals too. The Virginia State Fair, Celebrate Fairfax. Love playing there myself. The Arlington County Fair, the the Dogfish Head brewery festivals. Just had some Dogfish Head the other day. And the Rock and Roll Marathon, a number of places. Very, very active musician and performer. But the last 10 months have obviously stalled him as well. And we'll talk about that. He's released 2 independent solo albums as well as an EP with his duo Far Away. And that features his very talented wife, Sarah. And so we'll talk about them as well. His music has been noted to have folk rock undertones with catchy melodies. It's kind of an overall expression, but drawing comparisons to people like Pete Yorn, even Toad the Wet Sprocket. And of course, what I love about this, and we will be hearing some of his music tonight, Bruce Springsteen's one of my obviously very favorites. I mention him probably every show in one way or the other, but Brian has some Springsteen in him, Jersey guy, and also his songwriting and some of his songs. And we're going to hear that tonight, as well as the cover of one of Bruce's classic songs. I love this thing. Somebody wrote, or it's on the one of his Facebook pages and descriptions, his success as a musician lies in his ability to be versatile, reliable, and supportive. And we'll hear about why that is so true, and being respectful in the relationships he's grown through a nearly decade-long career. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm Living on Music welcome to Brian Franke. Brian, what is up, my man?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. Good to see you, Steve.
Yeah, it's really great to see you, my man. It's been a while. I know you guys moved down to, I guess, the Charlottesville, Richmond area. Not how long ago?
So it'll be 3 years this spring. So we moved in 2018. So it's flown by pretty quickly.
Yeah, I bet. And I will talk a little bit about what that move has meant to you from a musical standpoint and stuff like that. I watched your virtual show about 2 weeks or so ago, the Creedence show with Sarah. Just had a blast listening to, hearing you guys sing some of that music. How have you been doing? Getting through this pretty, testy time for musicians especially. And I've had 10 months or 11 months of talking to people like you who've been through this. How has it been affecting, though, you and Sarah and music and stuff like that during this time?
Well, it hasn't been easy. I think a lot of people that play music have been impacted in a negative way. So, for me, of course, you gave the intro with playing 250 shows. That did not happen last year in 2020 by any means. I don't even know what I played. I didn't even bother to count yet how many shows. It was probably half that. So, for me, being a full-time musician, it's of course affected just being able to do what I do and what I love to do. So at times it's been frustrating and depressing because the whole thing's kind of totally out of my control. It was nothing I did to cause it. Of course, I do my part to stay safe and keep others safe. But, even with the lack of shows that I had compared to all the previous years as a full-time musician, I probably had some of the better shows that are going to be memorable. There's one I'll point out, for example. We live here at a lake community, and people started having bands, local bands, come on their private docks, and people bring their boats up and kayaks and just enjoy. We were the first ones. It was right after quarantine. It was early May. Everyone had been inside 6-7 weeks, and it was a beautiful day, and all these people came out, and just that connection that we had been missing. I mean, we've been doing online shows, and I've been doing online shows, but just to see people again and play music and just feel that energy and connection that you get with music was amazing. And people were so nice and gracious in their feedback to us. They said this was the best day that they had that year up to that point in time. So, it's of course, anyway, affected my, just well-being. It's just been stressful at times. I try to keep with a routine of doing online shows, and then things got a little better and we were able to play outdoors through the fall, and then now it's winter again and not a whole lot's going on. So back to online stuff. But I've had to take other side jobs during the year. I worked for the 2020 census for a month and a half. I did a quick little thing with a company called Shipped, which is delivering groceries and getting groceries for people. And but eventually I was like, I need to find something a little more permanent. So I'm actually going to be starting with a new job next month.
Wow.
With New York Life Insurance. So sort of is putting music on the side a little bit, but I got bills to pay, and just like everybody else. So
yeah, you're not alone. You're not alone in finding any way to do it. For most of the people that have been on the show, they are already, that music was it. And some haven't even found side jobs. They might have had a spouse who had something going, so that helped, but others had their own businesses. It's just been an incredible ride. Well, you did do a gig not long ago, I guess a couple of months ago at Carter Mountain. That looked like a beautiful place. Was that one of the first ones that you got back out and played with Sarah and the I guess it was the full Faraway band, wasn't it?
Yeah, we've played there the last 2-3 years. It's for your listeners that they don't know Carter Mountain. It's literally up on a mountain and it overlooks Charlottesville. You can see it looks west, and you can see the Blue Ridge Mountains, and you can see the rotunda from up there on UVA's campus.
Right.
And as long as the weather's good, you can really get some sweet sunsets in the summertime. So it's and typically, that's a place that actually has gotten hurt because non-COVID times, there would be 3,000 people up there.
Well, it looked like there was some people pretty close, but not dangerously close to you guys sitting. And I was wondering how. Hopefully, they had good social distancing as everybody's trying to do outside, especially outside now. It's just brutal inside.
Yeah, it's a large space. There's like a lawn and Bold Rock cidery is up there.
Great.
Tasting room. But they only allowed 500 people up versus the 3,000. So we love playing it because the people go there for the music.
Well, let's take a little jaunt for people who don't know Carter Mountain. This is a wonderful clip of to show some of the most recent music that Brian and Sarah have been doing. It's kind of fun to kind of see what people are doing now and recently, and then we delve back into life. This is from Carter Mountain's Thursday Night Sunset series. It is the Faraway Band covering a Dawes song, "When My Time Comes." Oh, what a beautiful spot. That's kind of a gem that you guys must have been excited to find. Did you know that place existed when you moved down there?
Yeah, we did. It's actually not far down the road from us, maybe 15 minutes away. So we're very lucky to even just have it there to go. I mean, we go up there even just to hang out, and it's just always a beautiful evening at Carter Mountain.
Oh, great. Well, you guys sounded real sweet. So you're not losing anything during the not losing anything during the pandemic. Just feeling like you want to go out and play for a month straight.
Exactly.
You said Brian briefly in a nutshell. You talked a little bit about you've been doing some stuff, at least musically out there, some virtual stuff.
Yeah, once the pandemic was real and we had to be in quarantine, I saw a bunch of friends go online and start playing shows, and I decided this is what I do, so I'm gonna keep doing it in some way. But with the online stuff, when I started it, I did 2 of my own shows a week, and then Sarah and I, was far away, did 1 show a week, and so I wanted to do something where I wasn't just getting on the line and just playing whatever it was. So I put themes to each of those things. So my Friday show was my happy hour show, and so I would play whatever, or people would make requests, and I play them for them. And then we would have a cocktail recipe. We'd have a different drink each week, and we'd share the recipe and drink it. Sometimes we'd give shout outs if we used local cider. If we did something with a cider drink, we would give a local shout out to the business. And then Sundays I did a more laid back show, more stuff I played at a winery, and that was called Sunday Supper Time Songs. So we actually filmed it in our kitchen, and I would play just laid back stuff while you're eating dinner, and we would cook a meal. Sarah would cook a meal behind me in the kitchen, and we talk about what we were making, and it was just kind of like a cooking show and with some music involved in it. And then the other one, which was the Faraway Tuesday Tributes show, focused on paying tribute to a band or a genre, or there's some musical theme to it that we would learn for that Tuesday, and then we would donate a portion of whatever we raised to a local cause or charity. And we did everything from food bank stuff to helping people that in the restaurant industry that lost their job back in the spring. So we wanted to, that was sort of we're giving back to the community type of show. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I love
those
that.
all helped. Those all helped get through. At least we learned a lot of new music, and we're just still doing music enough to stay. As you said, seems like we didn't skip a beat in that Carter Mountain show, but it's because we play those shows every week.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I mean, you also are continuing to write, which is great. There's been some people who have just even been a little bit stifled there. You're going to play us a song that kind of has a little bit of a relevance to what's been going on. This is a song called "What a Year It's Been." This came from kind of the experience, so I'm sure.
Yeah, I wrote this probably around, and I mean the song, "What a Year It's Been." Of course, 2020, what a year that was, and still continuing into 2021. But it's, if you read into the lyrics, people would say maybe it's a political song. To me, it's I was observing just all these terrible things happening in the world, not just from coronavirus, but with Black Lives Matter and people lying in to get their way in politics, to regain power or stay in power. And so it's just, the song's about my observations of things. The first verse has to deal with fear. There's a lot of fear going on. The second verse deals with losing important people in your life. And a lot of it's just sort of me thinking, how are we just watching history repeat itself? Are we actually progressing as as human beings? And so it's just about those kind of things. It was just kind of those imageries I would get from watching the news or just seeing things in everyday life when I was out. So it's about 2020 basically, though. What a year it's been. I can feel the fear again. And the streets, they flow with red. With red. What a year it's been. Lost another close friend. Dead and gone, it always ends. It ends. These are the echoes of a distant days. Steps walking the same way. A life of love, a life of hate. In the kingdom of the human race. What a year it's been. Searching for the elusive wind. Some with truth and some with sin. A wind. These are the echoes of our distant days. Our footsteps walking the same old ways. A life of love, a life of hate. In the kingdom of the human race.
Absolutely beautiful, Brian. The voice
Thank
has
you
not
so much.
the voice has not taken a dive in any way, as far as I'm hearing, over the 10 months. So that's
Good.
wonderful. Well, let's delve back a little bit into the life of Brian Franke. We're not going to dig too deep, but don't get scared. But you are a Jersey guy. You born and raised in Red Bank. So it was Jersey pretty much the whole beginnings of life.
Yeah, so I was born in Red Bank, which is right next to where I grew up in Fairhaven, New Jersey.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, I was raised in the same house, same corner, same town for, the 18, 20 years I was there.
Right. Where were your musical influences, Brian? Did you get them from early on from family? Did you find them from friends? How did you begin to kind of get some music in your soul?
So, so in my family, what I've realized is there's probably musical genetic genes, and I've seen this in other families too, where one sibling gets the musical gene and the other doesn't. So for me, my parents, they never pushed me to play music because neither of them really played anything. My dad is probably the bigger lover of music in the house, so growing up, on his record player was, Bob Dylan and James Taylor and Elton John and Billy Joel and all those great songwriters from the 60s and 70s. But I really don't think I got influenced, you know, they wasn't influenced by them. They have had siblings, one sibling each who played music, and then one of each of their parents played an instrument. So it was like, and then I'm one of two, and my brother does not play an instrument. So it must skip one sibling or the other, the music stuff in the family. But for me, I really got into music, and playing guitar really was the first thing for me. When I was 12, this was like early 90s. So the big album for me that really impressed me, I guess you could say, and inspired me was Nirvana's Nevermind.
Wow.
Because it was just so different, all the stuff from the 80s, and it was, you know, I was in middle school, becoming a teenager, so like everything kind of aligned with that angsty 90s stuff, as they put it.
Right,
and I just got into the grunge scene, and I used to play heavy metal. That's what I actually started with, was a lot of heavy stuff, a lot of stuff that my dad didn't listen to, or my parents hated listening to.
Yeah, you picked up the guitar when you were about 12, I guess, right? And then did you began to play some high school bands and things like that, and even took it into college?
Yeah, I mean, I started. There was one of my best friends who I'm still great friends with to this day. He had started playing guitar, and he had taken like saxophone lessons, and he was in the band. I didn't do any of that stuff, but I saw him playing Nirvana songs and that kind of thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to learn how to do this. It sounds so good. So he and I actually started a band. I think it was around our senior year. We finally combined our forces and started a band, and that went through college. We didn't go to the same college, so we really only played during summer breaks and winter breaks and that kind of thing.
What was the name of that band?
Visitors Only.
Ooh.
I did not come up with that name. It had something to do with our lead singer saw a sign somewhere that said only members can come into this room, so it said members only, and he just said, oh, what about the visitors? What about visitors only? Where do we go? So it just became Visitors Only. There was really nothing more to that story on the name. But.
Right. So you went to UMass Amherst, up by where I went to BU, graduated a little bit before you up there, but and got an economics degree, I believe, or studied economics, and then went to grad school in New York City. So you were building kind of a way to kind of go through life, get a career, probably maybe go down one of those roads. Music was part of your life, but hadn't really hit until, I guess, more around 2009. What was the impetus to say, all right, I've tried to do these various things in my life, but it looks like music is really the direction I want to take?
Yeah, so the previous career, so I moved to the DC area like in 2005, mostly because I had taken an internship when I was in college in 2000, and I loved it. I was like, I need to be here. I want to change things and, you know, be ambitious and all that, change the world, make it better. And, you know, then I kind of went into that career with economic policy, and it just didn't pan out. I actually became disillusioned because of all the politics and stuff. So after college, I didn't really play out a whole lot. So good 5 years went by in my early 20s where I didn't perform live, still played at home. And then once I moved to DC, I just got the itch to play again and started playing solo. The impetus was not liking what I was doing. I just dreaded going to my job every day, basically. Didn't like the people I was working with, etc., that kind of stuff. And I just started playing again in 2006 and then I started getting shows, and 2009 rolled around and I was playing more and more, and I just loved it. I was like, okay, obviously this is what I really am passionate about. I never have a bad time playing music.
Right.
So it came to a point where I didn't have a job at one point, and I was on unemployment, but I was like, all right, you know, I have time to maybe focus on trying to make a career out of this. And that's kind of when it all started. I knew how to play. I knew how to sing, that kind of stuff. But I worked really hard on the business end of things, getting to know people, how to promote yourself, etc.
Sure.
All the like administrative stuff that goes on behind the scenes to play live.
Some of the stuff that can build careers. You had yourself solo, and you also played in I guess in a couple of bands. You did a duo called 12 Strings. So how did that develop? And did you decide at some point you wanted to kind of do the solo route pretty much exclusively, or when did that come into to play?
Yeah, so I started solo. So like 2006, I started playing open mics just to get myself out there and playing again. And I thought, because I had come from a band environment, that's what I knew, and I was like the lead guitarist, and I would sing backup. But I realized, having a job and other people having lives, it was just too hard to try to like form a band at that time. So the other stuff was sort of 12 Strings was a good friend of mine, Matt Weilmunster. He approached me because he wanted to put a little band together, just him and another guy. So he tried me out, and it worked out. Everything blended really well. And so we did that for a few years until he had a family and he couldn't do it anymore. And then I mostly played solo. The 12 Strings was every once in a while. And then maybe that segues into meeting my wife, who I have a musical relationship with as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, we're definitely going to hit Far Away for sure. And that's wonderful that you've been able to do that. And in about 2010, you had your first solo album, and how did that come about? Did you self-produce it? Did you have somebody produce it? And where did you record it? And what was the kind of the thought process behind that?
Sure. So really that album, 6 Blocks Down, my first one, got to go back to like 2007. I was really getting into music and trying to make connections, and I met a fellow named Dave Mallon, who's at the time was just starting his own studio. So he was trying to get clients, and we were both from New Jersey. We had all these great things in common. And he said, yeah, if, you want to ever record, if you have any songs, he was finishing up some sort of accreditation at Berklee School of Music, something with recording. And so we did a demo that came out like in 2007 or 8. And then 2009, we started working on the album because, I had a lot of songs. We agreed a lot of them would be great to record. And he was very active in the music community. So he was like, let's get it out there. So he recorded it at his studio, Innovation Station, which at the time was in Arlington.
Right.
And then, I just had, I think a lot of musicians do this, whether they're local or not. They just have, a bulk of songs, and I would just play them for Dave, and he would say, no, like these 5, probably not worth it.
Right.
Which was good, because I wanted to record everything, but some things maybe aren't, finished or the greatest songs to record. So we did like a 9-song album, 8 or 9 songs, I can't remember. 8 or 9 was on 6 Blocks Down, and a lot of the songs involved, even though I wrote everything and sang everything, the album is a full band kind of album. I didn't have a band technically, but he brought in some great musicians to play on the album. Adam Lee was the drummer, and Dave played everything else except all the guitar parts and the singing that I did.
That's great. Well, we're going to
go a lot of it.
Yeah, we're going to go back about 10 years. Yeah, I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
There's just a lot of great orchestration on it, things that Dave added that I would not have been able to do on my own. So it turned out well.
That's great. Well, congratulations on that one in 2010. In fact, we're going to go back to 2010, and you get a sense of the band to Brian Franke, part of his life and career. This is from, I guess, the release show you did 10 years ago. The album, I guess, just turned 10 in November.
Yeah.
So that's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Where was this again? This clip of the song Six Blocks Down?
It's a place I used to play quite often called the Irish Channel in DC. It's right in the heart of Chinatown.
Yep. Oh, awesome. Well, let's
One of
go
the
back
first venues I played.
Oh, awesome. Let's go back about 10 years to get a taste of Brian's first record, a song called 6 Blocks Down.
6 Blocks Down, this one's for you guys.
Yeah, look at the rockin' Brian Franke there. That looks like a fun band. That looks like it had to be a blast with those guys.
It was a great show. That falls in my top 3 like music memories. Was I'm doing all my own stuff, doing the album. I mean, threw some cover songs to cover some time, but
right.
It was a great group of guys to play with, and we had over 100 people in that tiny little bar. It was awesome.
Sweet. That's like 10,000 for playing places like that. Believe me, I know that as well. That is a wonderful thing. Obviously one of your great strengths is your solo work, and you continued to do, I think, probably as much of that, if not more, as time began to evolve through the second part of the 2000s, after the first record and stuff, playing just a huge range of different kinds of venues and stuff. That must have been fun to kind of get that live situation going where it just seemed like it was relatively constant.
Yeah. So, for your listeners, I play just a range of music. So, we've heard the first song. That's more of my laid back folk style. But I of course, having played heavy metal music and grunge and that kind of thing, I do like to rock out too. So that first album, 6 Blocks Down, showcased, I felt those kind of two sides of me. And then because of that, I can't rock out all the time. I'll lose my voice. So I play wineries and keep it very chill. And then when the band gets together far away, we crush it sometimes at a lot of great venues on a lot of songs. So
love that.
It just, it's just all those kinds of things are a range of emotions. Some days I feel like just being chill and strong acoustic days I just want to plug in with electric and just have at it.
Sure. Speaking of chill, we're going along a little bit on a timeline of you. In 2012, you played a gig that I think was at the Iota. Is where Amanda with a Wink, the Amanda with a Wink clip, and I believe that's when you met your love of your life at that club. This is a fun song. You explain. I think I had it in there. What this song was about, Amanda with a Wink. Of course, not meeting Sarah yet, so now it's Sarah with a Wink. But this has got a real taste of Springsteen in it, and I love it. But a little bit about how you met your partner for life. That is really sweet.
Yeah, so we knew of each other at that particular show. So that was like February 2012. We met at Iota.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like finally like, oh, you're Brian, I'm Sarah, and that was kind of the gist of it. That was the intro. There was nothing more to it. But except after that, we kept running each other, and we were both going through a difficult time from 2011. She was going through a divorce, and I had just ended a long-term relationship, and so we were kind of just in the same boat with that big change and not sure should we get in a relationship, like what, just figuring out life again, we just kept running into each other, and at the time I was like, I don't want to date anyone. I'm just going to focus on myself. And then I was like, oh crap, I like this girl.
Right.
Let's see what we can do with this. I knew she was going to be important to me. We just connected very quickly off the bat, and and then it all worked out. I got the girl.
Yeah, you kind of did. And 9 years later, you're hanging, and you made it through a pandemic, which
didn't kill each other either. No.
Nope, that's what I've heard several times on Living on Music over the last 11 months, that we didn't kill each other, and I'm like, wow, yeah. This is a sweet song from the night that Brian and Sarah crossed paths, and then ended up again now 9 years later. I love it because it feels the boss, is inherent in this song. This is back at the wonderful Iota, which I know, Brian, when it closed, that had to hurt. I think it was one of those very rare, wonderful clubs that had a cross section of music. The crowd was really close to the performers. I loved it. This is a song Brian wrote. He'll tell you how he came up with a song called Amanda with a Wink.
This is a fun song. This is I guess this is my drinking song, my bar song. And it's also about a girl who came up to me at a show I was playing, and she said, she asked me to play some song, and I said, yeah, sure. And she said, well, my name is Amanda. And she gave me this big old wink, and I immediately was like, Amanda with the Wink, that's the name of the song. And so I wrote it for you guys. Hey there, baby, what you doing tonight? Well, you're dancing with your friends and I'm rocking it tight. The week's been long, you've been thinking about the drink. Tell me to play that song, your name's Amanda with the Wink. A harder day is a harder night. Bottoms up, baby, you're back twice. Slam the gas pedal to the right side. Because a harder day is a harder night. Woo! Hey there, darling, are you sticking around? You've been putting your hours just to get down. See you standing there in your yellow song dress. Amanda with a Wink, why don't you show me your best? A harder day is a harder night. Bottoms up, baby, real back twice. Slam the gas pedal to the right side. Because a harder day is a harder night. Yeah. Sunday morning, the bar's closing up, and this guitar's feeling worn out. I'm packing it up, and I've been taking it home. Amanda with the Wink, got a harder night. It's last call, baby, throw it back not once but twice. Amanda with a wing, she be living it right. Maybe I should go home with Amanda tonight.
Oh, Brian, so much to love about that clip. You know, not only the Springsteen influence that I feel, and knowing you're a Jersey boy, just really it makes it all the more kind of wonderful. But again, you met your wife to be there. You guys got together. Eventually, things began seriously, obviously, and not a heck of a long time after that. When did you realize that? Was that she was a musician and that you were? Did you guys know that going into the meeting, or how did, because you were playing that night? Did she play that night? Did you see? So I was curious how the music part of you, because that's been a 9-year love affair as well in music.
Yeah, yeah. We knew the other was a musician, but we didn't know much about our careers. Sarah had been in at the time. She was in a group called the 3 MTs. The MTs meant music teachers. That's what she does for her work. 3 music teachers, and they played quite a bit. A lot of those kind of similar kind of things, cover songs, and mostly acoustic. And then, you know, I had my solo thing, and the 12 strings was kind of fading at that time. So we, at first, were pretty against playing together. And I don't remember why. I think we were just like, let's just do our own things and keep our relationship separate from our music stuff.
Right.
And then an opportunity came up where it was a 12 strings gig, but Matt could not make it. And I thought, oh, I could just do the solo and cover for him. But apparently it had to be a duo. And I said, Sarah and I were going to Rehoboth Beach, and I said, hey, do you want to fill in for Matt? And she said, sure. And then we practiced a bunch of songs on our vacation, and she picked up very quickly. So the one thing Sarah is awesome at, she's probably the best harmonizer out there, person that harmonizes with me.
I'm jealous.
Our voices, we played the show, and people came up to us and were like, oh man, how long have you been playing together? And we said, a week.
Oh.
And they just were like, wow, you know, you got something going. So I think we just realized that show that, and that was in August. We met in February, and this was August 2012. So we realized that show that maybe we could do something with this. And like I said, 12 Strings was fading away, and her band was she had some issues with the band. So she was like, let's just see where this goes. And we immediately started learning cover songs together, and really, like, what we're known for is our harmonies, and people just love our voices blending together. And I'll say, for me, the first thing I ever fell in love with Sarah was her voice. So a week or so after seeing me play at Iota, I went to the open mic, and I didn't play, but she got up and played. And then I just remember looking up, and I was like, okay, amazing voice, just so beautiful. And then I was like, oh, and also hot, very hot girl up there who has an amazing voice.
Yeah.
So that kind of kept me interested.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that, because, you know, you could have easily been a wonderful couple without that connection, and to have that connection is tantamount. Well, you came up with an EP. How many songs was on the EP when you did it in 2012, I guess? So right around the same time that you guys.
Well, we actually did 2013, released it.
Okay.
Actually.
Right.
It was 3 songs on it. It's the only recordings we have. We've got so many other songs we'd love to record, just haven't gotten to it yet. That show, when we released the album, it was my birthday, and it was also the end of our tour. We did like a month and a half long tour,
Oh.
sort of in the Southeast and to Nashville and a few other spots in the Carolinas.
Whoa.
And it was kind of like, we're home now, we're done, and here's our album.
Oh my gosh. Was that where you played the Bluebird, or did you play at, was that the two of you, or you yourself solo at the Bluebird in Nashville?
I've played the open mic there, and then Sarah and I played the open mic as well. The time that we played, we probably played one of the songs off the EP. It was so busy in the Bluebird that we couldn't get in, but we got on the list, so we literally walked in with our guitars, played the song, and then we had to exit because there was no seating in the Bluebird. But the host emailed us immediately after, like within 10 minutes of us leaving the Bluebird, and saying, you need to do something in Nashville, because that was amazing. So we were flattered.
Yeah, you don't get much more flattered after playing the Bluebird and have somebody say, hey. I love that. We're going to fast forward a little bit after that, and after the EP came out to around 2018. This is you and Sarah playing in Charlottesville. I guess it was called the Uncovered Songwriter Series at the Tin Whistle in Charlottesville. The harmonizing is clear. Sarah has a wonderful vocal presentation in this one, as she always does. This is the first song these guys ever wrote together, and it is beautiful. It's called Somehow.
Is this my lost path? Somehow I'll make it through without you. Somehow I'll rise above. Somehow I'll make it through without you. Somehow. So please forgive me. Please don't leave me. Please forgive me. I am leaving. I am grieving. I am leaving you. Somehow I'll make it through without you. Somehow I'll rise above. Oh, somehow I'll make it through without you. Somehow I'll rise above. Oh, somehow I'll make it through without you. Somehow. Someday you will smile, knowing all the while that this is how it should be. Thanks very much.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with that song. Just the way you guys sing together, the way you're looking at her. I mean, it's a beautiful kind of portrayal of the two of you. So congratulations. Again, I just saw you guys play that in that Creedence thing. So seems to again have been a wonderful extra bonus that you guys get to play music together. You've gone on to do some fun things, as you just said, playing Nashville open mics, doing other things like that, playing around, and you had a song put on television. How did that happen?
I think it was called Sonic Bids. It's basically a service musicians sign up for. You pay for it, but you get to submit to all sorts of different things, festivals and TV. There was a TV opportunity for it was a PBS show called Road Trip Nation. We just thought, all right, we'll apply to it. And our song, also on the EP called Long Drive Home, got picked up. It was cool because it got used on the last episode of this show. And it was the only, I guess in that season, it was the only song that they selected where they actually used people's voices in it. I guess everything else was just instrumental music.
Yeah.
And, you give them the rights to kind of chop it up and use it however they want to use it. And it was sort of used in the middle of the last episode as the montage where the show is basically all these people get together and they put them in an RV, sort of like Real World or something like that. But they go around the country and these people in the RV, they don't know what they want to do with their lives. So they go around the country and interview people that are very passionate about what their work is, whatever it may be. And so they kind of get an idea of, maybe like this is how hard I need to work, or this is what I need to explore, what's passionate to me. So it sort of worked out because the song, it got used in a way in this montage where they're driving home and they are just thinking about all they've gone through, and it was pretty cool just how they used it hearing your voices over a TV show and music was pretty special for us just to see that happen.
Oh, totally. What a bonus. God, exclamation point on you two guys. I remember Long Drive Home. Honestly, no BS. Mm-hmm. When that came out online, cool. I loved it. And I was like, hey, it's Brian and Sarah. I mean, I tried to keep on top of your guys' career, though. That's why it's so fun to have you here. 2014, about 6 years ago, you had a second solo album. Will You Finish My Song? What was the thought behind that? Was that just more ways to kind of, again, continue to keep your music going?
So that album, it wasn't really planned to be what it came out being. I wanted to, after 6 Blocks Down, I kept writing and I had all these other songs. And just a few months after 6 Blocks Down was released, I was touring. And this will be 10 years ago this March. And you probably know the story because, you've been working in the news and media, Steve. So my friend, Gina Murray, was an amazing human being, lived her life fully, and she was 30 years old, about to finish her master's degree, and she was randomly and viciously murdered. And this is the whole Lululemon story in Bethesda, Maryland. And it was a huge item in the news. And it was just an awful, awful experience for anyone that knew her. And then particularly for me, I went through just a surge of anger and paranoia. Actually had to go to a therapist, and I was diagnosed with secondary PTSD. And I wasn't with Sarah at the time, but the woman I was with at the time said, you need to write and not just be stuck in your head and going down this path of anger and fear and paranoia. So that album has a lot to do with it's a very sad album, of course, but a lot of it has to do with that experience and trying to get through it and actually coming out on the other side of like a new normal in life. It certainly put a lot in perspective for me. I eventually got over the PTSD side of things, but it was certainly something that when you lose someone like that, you just everyone has their own way hopefully out of it as best they can. And I used the album was useful for me to express those emotions at the time of just, life and death and how effed up things can get sometimes.
Yeah.
And you don't know why sometimes. That's the one thing. I don't know why it happened. But luckily the person that committed that atrocity is behind bars for life. And
they are.
But that's what Will You Finish My Song was about. There's other stuff besides Jaina. There was, I ended my relationship with the woman I was with for 6-7 years at the time. And it just, so many things just came into play, just thinking about the big life things. What am I doing here? What is life about? What do I want to do? And so a lot of the songs get into those questions.
Yeah, that is stunning. Yes, I was actually working, I believe, at Channel 9 as a marketing director when that and the news was our central life. Well, I'm so sorry. And yeah, that's the beauty of music, is that it can take an event so incredibly deeply painful and you can express and get the music out there, and whew, what an intense thing. A few years after your second solo record, there were, I'm sure you were continuing to play a lot, and this was just prior to, I think this clip was just prior to you and Sarah moving and relocating down a little bit south. You played a Bruce Springsteen tribute show that was at, I guess, called Painting the Music, a concert series. And this is with Dan Fisk and Dave Mallon. And it's at Jam and Java, which again is behind me here, and one of my favorite clubs. Trying to get Luke Brindley on the show, and they've been hurting too. Luke's a musician and a venue owner. That's kind of a you can't find a way to work, but he's done some great music over the time too. This is again is one of my very favorite songs by Bruce. How did you come up with playing this, or again playing this show with these guys?
So Dave, who I mentioned before, is the one that recorded my first album, 6 Blocks Down, and then Dan Fisk is just an awesome friend. We met probably about 10 years ago around this time, and he was trying music full time. I think he was new at it, and he did it full time for quite a few years, but he's gone back to doing it part time. But Painting the Music was a series that he started. I think maybe 2013 or so, where he wanted to connect musicians with painters, artists, that kind of thing, where basically, and I was a part of maybe 3 other shows besides the Springsteen tribute, and usually they were focused on original music, except for this one that you're going to show the clip of. So you got paired with a painter, and you would play a song, and they would interpret the music on the stage, and you could watch the person paint whatever they interpreted live. So it was a cool series that he did that for a good 4 or 5 years. He hasn't done it in a while. And so the Springsteen one, he was just like, I want to try something different. You love Springsteen, Dave loves Springsteen. Like, I'm not a Springsteen guy, but I'm gonna get up and sing. So can you guys help me out? And I said, of course. And I think the song is Thunder Road that you're going to show, and we sort of did a slower version of it, which Bruce had started doing that slower version like in the 90s when he was more solo. And I love the original version, but there's something a little more. I get shivers up my spine at one point in the song playing it slower versus the usual way it's recorded. But it was a great show, and just a lot of other great artists were part of that one.
No, I love it. I'll tell you a brief story. Wanted my father to realize my love for Bruce when I was in my around mid to late 20s, so around the 90s or late 80s, and Bruce had started to play like Thunder Road like that. So we were sitting by the fire one time in my living room in Wilton, in Connecticut, in the barn that we lived in, and I sang. I wasn't a singer until I was 46, and sang Thunder Road to him. And he had tears in his eyes, so I guess I didn't suck at it at the moment, but it has the level of Bruce's power and beauty and poetry and experiences, and it is spectacular. I sing this with my duo partner Jess Robinson as well, and you do a beautiful job. But all three of you did. This is again back to the Brindleys, Jam and Java, one of my favorite places on earth, with Brian Franke, Dan Fisk, and Dave Mallon doing a little bit of Thunder Road.
Ready? The screen door slams, Mary's just waits. Like a vision, she dances across the porch as the radio plays. Roy Orbison singing for the Lord. It's me, I want your name. Don't turn me home again, I just can't face myself alone again. Don't you run back inside, darling, you know just what I'm here for. So you're scared and you're thinking that maybe we ain't that young anymore. Show a little faith, there's magic in the night. You ain't a beauty, but you're alright. And that's alright with me. You can hide beneath your covers and study pain. And crosses from your rose, throw roses in the rain. Waste your summer and pray in vain for a savior to rise from the streets. Well, I'm no hero that's understood all the redemption I can offer girls beneath this dirty hood, with a chance to make it real somehow. Baby, what else can we do now? Except roll down the windows and let the wind blow back your hair. With the nights busting open, these two lanes will take us anywhere. We got one last chance to make it real. Trade on these wings on some wheels. Climbing back, heaven's waiting down on the tracks. Oh, come take my hand. We're riding out tonight to kiss the promised land. Oh, thunder road, oh, thunder road, thunder road. Lying out there like a killer in the sun. Ain't no sleep, we can make it if we run. Oh, thunder road, sit tight, take hold, thunder road.
Yeah, Brian, every time any of us hears that song, beautiful version. You guys did a wonderful, wonderful job. And behind you, yeah, you could see the artist's painting. So that had to be, a very unique gig. I love that. One thing, and you've continued, since for the last, again, over the last few years, continuing to play, continuing to find gigs prior to, of course, the last 10 months. We'll get past that and won't have to talk about that anymore when we do an interview in the future, in person, I hope. But yeah. You've continued to kind of evolve and continue to write and play, though, right? Pandemic or not.
Yeah, I just, like I said before, music is my passion. So the idea of just let's put the guitar away, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like a part of my body in a lot of ways, and just a part of my emotions. And I tell people, even before I was playing out, music was my first form of therapy, to be able to just write songs, even if people didn't hear them, just to get that out, whatever the emotion was or the experience that I was going through. So, yeah, I'm just going to keep on going as long as this can happen, and we'll certainly get through COVID and all that stuff. But who knows when? That's a whole other
you will.
topic.
Well, and one other thing that's good about the level of your live performance kind of parameters is that you'll be able to go out and go to those places, and they'll know you. There's going to be I'm more worried about my own kind of lesser level than you going back out and trying to find gigs, because the people who are great are going to really need to flow back into these venues, and you might get some really great bands playing some smaller venues just to get out and play again. But I know you will be kicking it. You did something as well, Brian, a little bit of a kind of again, using some of your personality and your personal kind of interests to work a little with musicians, kind of helping to promote themselves. And it was all after kind of winning a contest that was run by the digital marketing guru Ariel Hyatt of Cyber PR. Talk a little bit about how that evolved into kind of being able to be an advocate and help bands kind of get a way to get their lives out there.
Yeah, so I first saw Ariel Hyatt speak in 2009 at a music conference. This is, when I decided I need to go out and learn the business side. And I bought her book at the time. It's called Music Success in 9 Weeks. And that right after that conference I was at, she did a contest where you had to go through the 9 weeks in the book and like blog about it and blog about what you were doing, like how you were using her skills and knowledge to become a better musician on the business side. And I saw those things start to work. And then I won the contest and I got like a free campaign. It actually helped with 6 Blocks Down. I said, I don't have anything for you to promote right now, but I have this album coming out. So that helped me get reviews and get put on podcasts and internet radio and stuff after 6 Blocks Down. But then she came up with an idea. She said, so many musicians hate doing social media, and you seem to like it. I'm putting a little team together that's going to basically, you're going to run people's social media campaigns, whatever it may be, their music video, their album, whatever, their tour, that kind of stuff. So for about a year, I worked with a few artists, like 3 months at a time on whatever their project was, and I basically did all their social media for them. So it was writing the Facebook posts and Twitter, and they had to send me things, of course, for me to do it adequately. But just doing that, I got involved in helping other musicians with social media, giving people advice on what to do, what not to do when they're online. Just the administrative side, which I don't think a lot of people realize does take up a lot of time if you're going to do it in a way where you're going to connect with fans and interact with them in a way that's going to help. Your music is helping them, but in a way you're trying to get something back. Usually it's money, but it's also just being able to interact. I mean, that's what I would want to do if I had the chance to meet Bruce Springsteen. I would certainly, if I had to interact with him to get to meet him online, then I would do that. So it just has that helped with the business side.
I love that you're giving people a real hand to do it. That's great. Brian, what a perfect way to close out a wonderful journey down your music career. And again, wishing you and Sarah nothing but the best as this thing winds out and getting out and playing and stuff. You're going to do another song for us, and I can't wait. What are you going to roll for us, man?
Well, this is a song. It's not recorded. It almost made my last album. Will you finish my song? But this is a song around that time after my friend's life was taken. It's called Broken Taillight, and it basically describes kind of me hitting the rock bottom at the time where I knew I was not getting through the emotions and sort of needed to figure out how do I do that. So I use the imagery of a broken taillight, because some people don't know that their brake light is out, or they know it's out and they don't get around to fixing it. And that's sort of where my head was, that I wasn't taking care of myself at that time.
Drive home, hit every light. Feeling buzzed, no one's in the passenger side. If I speak, I'm alright. Tell you I got home fine. If you ask me, I'm alright. Need your peace of mind. My situation is like a broken tail light. It's always out, it's like the dead of the night. And yes, me, I'm alright. Tell you I got home fine. And you ask me, I'm alright. We need your peace of mind. Oh, there's nothing I can't hide. Oh, driving to your light. Oh, with you, nothing I hide. Oh, at home, nothing ever feels right. She's asleep, but I'm thinking of you tonight. And you ask me, I'm alright. Broken tail lights. Well, I got home just fine, but I had no peace of mind. Oh, there's nothing I can't hide. Oh, driving to your light. Oh, with you, nothing I hide. Oh, with my broken tail I hide. With my broken tail I hide. With my broken tail I hide.
Yes. Absolutely love that, Brian. Wow, and I love the hook too. That is I'll be humming that for a while myself. I love it. Well, Brian Franke, thanks so much, man. It is so good to see you, and it is wonderful to see you playing. I know that this thing's going to end. You're going to be back out doing your 250 or more shows a year before you know it. I am just going to always hope that you continue to be able to entertain people because you got a wonderful thing going, man. Thanks so much for taking the time today.
Well, and thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. It's good to talk with you. I know it's been a while to just converse, and yeah, I'm just going to keep it going. Hopefully we can get through COVID sooner than later now. I think
Yeah,
maybe we're on a better path as of Wednesday. I think we're on a better path.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of better paths to see in 2021. Well, best to Sarah. You guys take care. Keep playing music, and we will keep in close touch, man. Thanks again for being on Living on Music.
Yeah, take care. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, I love Brian. Talk about a local talent who's really out there playing all over the place and has really been hit hard by not being able to go out and do the gigs at so many venues around here. But wishing the best of luck to Brian and Sarah, who again have a love for 9 years in life and music. So congratulations to them as well. But good luck to you, Brian, and we'll see you out there, I'm sure, very, very soon again. Coming up on Living on Music this Monday is an epic show, ladies and gentlemen. John Carroll, joins me. Just looking back into previous, years of his, at 18, he was a founding member of Starland Vocal Band. And they recorded, obviously, the #1 pop hit, Afternoon Delight. They were nominated for 5 Grammys, won 2. And one of them was for arrangement for voices. And that's one of John's roles in the group, even at that young age. But since then, he has just done incredible work. His songs have been covered by artists such as Linda Ronstadt, Tom Jones, Kenny Rogers. He's toured and been a band member with Mary Chapin Carpenter, and also with people like Rodney Crowell, the Dixie Chicks, Peter Wolf of Jay Giles Band, Eric Lindell. And as I just mentioned in the open tonight about the Whammies, he's got over 20. So he's an incredible, has just a long, incredible legacy, and we will be going down his journey with him. John Carroll, this Monday, February 1st. On the 8th, Joe Chavira, amazing American singer-songwriter, musician, performer, plays piano, guitar, drums, and bass. He's over 800 songs in his catalog, has been playing for a number of years, does promotional commercial songs for people like BMW, Hearst Castle. He also had parents who, like mine, introduced him years prior to Trini Lopez. And who knew that many, many years later, together, Joe and Trini would collaborate. They wrote 47 songs, 5 CDs in 9 months. They created the Trini and Joe reality show. And it only was a poignant situation because Trini passed away in August of complications related to COVID. So we'll talk with Joe about his relationship with the great. My parents had Live at PJ's. Love that album. I can't wait to talk to him about his life with Trini and everything. I love what he calls about that he considers every song a family member. So I love that. That's Joe Chavira on February 8th. On the 15th, Black Betty's here. Get your blues hat on. Jenny Langer, Blues Hall of Fame member, International Blues Challenge Award winner for Best CD, multi-Whammy award-winning artist, and a pinup model to boot. Member of Moonshine Society, wonderful blues band I've seen a few times. Honey Larks, Ron Holloway Band. She also performed with artists like Warren Haynes and Government Mule, Susan Tedeschi and Derek Trucks, the Nighthawks. I mean, amazing resume for Jenny Langer, Black Betty. We will have her on February 15th. You do not want to miss that. And on February 22nd, here is another amazingly talented guy, Jeff Kazee, probably best known for his high-profile role as band leader and keyboardist for Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes for years, pianist and vocalist with the early Elton Trio. He has toured and recorded with Bon Jovi. He has played with Dar Williams. He's done some stuff with G.E. Smith. Roger Waters, which I really can't wait to hear about, recording and performing with Roger Waters. This is one guy with a depth of musical history, Jeff Kazee, and can't wait to have him on February 22nd. Real quick this week on ZTV, tomorrow night at 7. You don't want to miss it. A lot of people are adopting pets. Shelters are actually clearing out a lot of pets right now for adoption, which is wonderful. That's what we need to do even out of a pandemic. So tomorrow night, meet some of Alexandria's sweetest, cutest, most precious animals. They're up for adoption at the Animal Welfare League of Alexandria tomorrow night at 7 o'clock right here on ZTV. At Wednesday, it's Dr. Lauren Fisher on Wellness Wednesday. She welcomes Mai Trin, and Mai is a local chronic health disease expert and a health coach. And she's going to discuss what women need to know to thrive in their 40s and beyond. So you 40-somethings and beyond, and even some 30-somethings to see what happens when you get up there. Watch Mai Trin and Dr. Lauren Fisher on Wellness Wednesday on Wednesday at 7 and Thursday at 7. It's a Virginia Amos show. Virginia welcomes Aaron White of Mindy's Catering. See how a kind of a company has gotten through this pre-pandemic and then during it, and how word of mouth, community support, and things like that made the difference between them going under during this last 10 months. So it's a really neat story with Aaron White of Mindy's Catering on ZTV. That's ZTV all week. We do it every week for you, you guys. Lucella Flaherty, Susan Fleischman, also such contributors on air and doing things all over this area. So please go to Zebra on Facebook, Good News Zebra Press in Alexandria, and you'll click there, join, become a member, and you will get pings for a lot of what we do. And if you want to get a show on air, you have an idea for a topic, send it to us, post it, message us at Zebra Press. and we would love to consider what you're talking about. So can't wait to do that. Living on Music is a production of Zebra Press. We will always, in perpetuity, thank the great David McClure for getting this whole network going. Living on Music and ZTV producer, editor is Lainey Delaney. Love you, Lainey. And Zebra Press publisher, the Queen, Mary Wadland. We love you, Mary Wadland. January 2020 edition of the Zebra newspaper is out there now. The February one is coming in 2 or 3 weeks, so get ready for that. You can find the Zebra all over Alexandria, monthly newspaper. It's been going for years. It is fabulous. Plus, you can read it online at thezebra.org. Paper subscriptions also at zebra.org. Come on, if you like the paper in your hand, you can get it right online on zebra.org. Just look for the subscriptions tab. Visit the Zebra at zebra.org and the Good News Zebra Press Facebook page. This Monday, February 1st, one of this area's most prolific musicians, John Carroll, joins me on Living on Music. Until then, remember, as we begin this new year in so many ways and trying to find the joy and the recovery, don't forget at all times, hey, be the good news in someone's life. Take care, everybody.